Go ahead, Greg, whenever you're ready.
All right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me in the chambers? Yes. All right, great. I'd like to call the Wednesday, March 4th meeting of the Housing and Economic Development Committee to order. It's 10 a.m. Welcome. It looks like we have full committee membership in chambers. I apologize for joining remotely, but under our remote attendance policy, I will be able to participate in the meeting as I have a family medical procedure later this morning that I need to be available for. I will need to step away at about 10:45, 10:50. So I've asked the Vice Chair Iris Packman to step in my absence should the meeting continue on past that, just so everybody's aware with the plan. Taylor, do we have any public comment today?
Nope.
Okay, so no.
Teresa, did you fill out a blue card? Okay, Teresa's here in chambers and she did fill out a blue card.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we have Teresa Alt, member of the community and friend of the committee, who will have public comment. And so, Teresa, you understand the rules of speaking under privilege of the floor.
Oh, yes.
So I won't reiterate those, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, and I don't have a lot to say today, but I just wanted to say that with regard to housing, everybody should pay attention to what's going on in the city of Ithaca, Common Council. As far as I can see, there is a strong majority on Common Council that wants the city to become denser, not by means of high-rises that are very expensive to build, but rather with what you might call infill development. Changes in zoning that make it possible for a homeowner to add a unit to their, what they already own. That makes it possible for small local developers perhaps to find a vacant lot and put 4 apartments on it or something like that. This kind of easier to capitalize small building in areas of the city where zoning now prevents it, but 2 developments in zoning. One is a complete and state-subsidized rewrite by the planning department, but to move things along faster, the city proposes to, the city proposes to adopt a much wider use of planned unit developments, PUDs, which would allow them to act quite fast. And I think, as I say, what they want is a lot more density, walkability, and affordability so that the people who work in the city can live in the city, and a policy that supports housing people rather than cars. Thank you.
Teresa, thank you for your comments and bringing that to our attention. I did skip over any changes to the agenda. Any changes to the agenda by members of the committee? I have none. Okay, seeing none, I would like to take a minute to welcome a new Assistant County Attorney, Adina, and Adina, I guess I would turn it over to you to make an introduction. Maury had let us know that you'll likely be the one here to support HED, and we just wanted to welcome you to the committee and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and share anything you'd like to with the committee, and look forward to working with you. And sorry we can't meet in person, but welcome.
Thank you very much, Greg. My name is Adina Boating, like you said, and well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, great. Great. Well, I promise today we won't put you on the spot, or we won't have any meaty topics. so it'll be a relatively straightforward, easy meeting for you today. But looking forward to many more meetings to come. If I could have a motion, does anybody have any questions or comments for Dina, for members of the committee? Not being in chambers, it's difficult to see. Okay, all right, seeing none. I would guess we would take a motion for the February 4th, 2026 meeting minutes. Moved by Adam, seconded by Iris. Any changes, comments, corrections, or suggestions to those? Okay, seeing none by members of the committee, we'll take a roll call vote. We'll start, we'll just go down the line. Iris?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Those pass unanimously. We do have advisory board appointments. I believe we have 2. And if somebody has a sheet and chambers in front of them, would they be willing to read off those appointments and move that, please? Adam?
Oh, I was moving it.
Oh.
Sorry. Let me, hi, okay. For the Community Housing Development Fund, we have William Kurt Foreman as a community member representing the economic development. Term expires upon resignation from position. And for Southern Tier 8, also William Kurt Foreman for the Ithaca Area Economic Development Representative. Term expires December 31st, 2029.
Great, those are moved by Adam, seconded by Iris. If we do need to talk specifically about the individual, we would need to go in executive session. But if there's no comments or questions or concerns by members of the committee, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. Iris?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Just so everybody knows, Kurt is the new president of the Ithaca Area Economic Development. Joins us with his family from Delaware, and has been diving right into his new role, and has had several of these appointments that, based on his position, he is getting up to speed on. So thank you for that, and we welcome Kurt to those positions and to the community. I don't have a chair's report in an effort to stay brief and crisp today. We all had a long night last night. So I would also, I guess, use this time. Is there any members of the committee that have any reports or updates as it pertains to committee work? Iris?
I would just give a report that I am appointed to the City of Ithaca's Zoning Advisory Committee. So we are the group that is looking at and making recommendations to revise the zoning codes within the city. So to Teresa's comment, something that we're excited to be looking at, the city is, so we had our first meeting last week, and the city is going to be retaining an outside consultant that is very experienced with the zoning code rewrite. They've done it in other similar jurisdictions. So they will be advising us, but it's a great group. It's a large group. There's representatives from every part of the city, different neighborhoods, as well as extensive representation from the planning staff on the city. And as Teresa said, I think there is a focus on how do we densify, build where there's transportation, reduce use of cars, increase walkability, that kind of thing. So I will keep folks updated as we continue to meet. But the goal is that I think the timeline is 8 months, there should be a recommendation going to council. So they're trying to move things quickly so that we can really see things happen in the next few years.
That's great. Iris, appreciate your involvement on that, and thanks for keeping us in the loop. That will be a very interesting topic, I think, for us to track and follow along. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Iris, myself, and Veronica Pillar and Chair Black were all part of a kickoff with our county administration team for our minimum wage study that we have engaged sort of a collective of researchers from Cornell and other institutions, this sort of collective to help us understand what a change to the Tompkins County specific minimum wage could potentially mean, what the impacts might be, what the needs for that are, if any. And so they're underway. We had our first kickoff. The contract's been signed, and there'll be a number of convenings, as they call it, small group focus conversations, listening tour to gather information and data from the community. So I'm going to ask and rely heavily on members of this committee, as this is the program committee tasked with overseeing that report and work product, that we would try to all be as engaged in those convenings as possible, even if it's outside our maybe typical area of interest or passion areas, that we try to diversify our knowledge base through that process and really take this as an opportunity to listen to all viewpoints as we collect the data to generate a report and ultimately a recommendation or outcome to the legislature. I have asked the project team to provide regular updates post those convenings to this committee that then will be shared also with the full legislature, to do maybe sort of a halfway check-in with this committee, and then also follow up at the end with a presentation to this committee and the full legislature. So that is on the horizon. Iris, if there's anything that I missed from that, please feel free to jump in, but excited to have that underway with some pretty experienced researchers. But this is also an opportunity for us to make sure that we bring as many voices to that conversation as possible, so that in the end, we know that we have a full complement and strong data set of opinions and perspectives to formulate that report. Iris?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad that we can talk about it here. Wanted to just give you all a sense of the different session topics. So there will be one for urban workers, experiences of low-wage workers in the city of Ithaca, another separate convening for rural workers, experiences of low-wage workers in rural towns. Then there will be a separate convening for rural businesses, implications of minimum wage increases for rural businesses. Another one around human resource management and collective bargaining and what the implications would be in that context. Another one that's around public benefits and welfare. So there's a concern, which we can talk in more detail about, this idea of a benefits cliff. Essentially, when you raise wages enough that someone no longer qualifies for certain benefits, but not enough that they can still have the income to be able to live outside of poverty, for example, then there's sort of this cliff where you fall off but are still left behind. So there's a study about that. What are the implications there? There's another convening around the care economy, so the impact on social services, youth employment programs, childcare, healthcare. And then another session on the data, so the methods of setting and adjusting the minimum wages and the methodology for the study. And then there will be a final presentation. So as Greg said, I think it would be great if members of this committee and our other colleagues on the legislature could turn out to as many of these as possible, especially not just the ones in your district or in your area of expertise, because the goal is for us to hear from these different voices of people. Also, these convenings will have, they'll either have childcare provided. I believe there may be gift cards for low-wage workers to help compensate them for their time coming. And these will be at large public venues like the public library for the city ones, and then larger spaces in the surrounding towns as well, to try to make them as accessible as possible.
Any questions for either myself, Iris, or I know Bridget, Deputy County Administrator, has been sort of leading the charge on that. By members of the committee?
I just,
Mike?
Yeah, no, I'm interested about the cliff you were talking about. Like, I guess I'm curious as to what that, like, how much can you make now? Not make. How many benefits are available to you? Like, where is the cliff, kind of? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's something that Ian Greer, who's leading the study, that's his area of research. And so he can definitely speak to that, and he's done a lot of research on it. I can also share some research that he's done, but essentially the TLDR that I've heard from him, and he is my colleague at ILR, so I actually worked down the hall from him, and I've asked him about this in the past, is that the more gradually you raise wages, the more people fall off that cliff. If you're going to raise wages, generally it's better to do it in one larger leap so that people are then earning enough to make up for the fact that they no longer qualify for benefits. But where that exactly is up to the economists and those who are doing the study, so they can give you that data for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mike, I don't know, and I would maybe ask Ian and other members in our community that are able to speak to this, is maybe we can set up some, short presentations along the way as it relates to this study. And maybe Iris, I'm sorry, I have a mouthy dog here that wants to join the meeting. So I apologize for that, but some of us have kids and others has fur babies. So this is mine, and it's easier if I do this than letting her bark at me till she gets to what she wants. So this is Tenley, and hopefully her brother doesn't come up because there's not enough room on the screen. But
It's not
maybe
an
we can
election year,
have.
Greg, just so you know.
What did you say, Mike?
It's not an election year. You don't have to do all this.
No, I know. So maybe Iris, we can coordinate some of these topics as maybe more in-depth topics too for this committee or presentations. Maybe we can have one that talks about benefit cliff and maybe other interested topics, and bring folks from DSS in, and so we have a better understanding as we go through this process.
I think that's a great idea, but you need to bring Kenley.
Yeah, Tenley, yeah.
Kenley, sorry.
It's okay.
She can be the mascot of HED.
She can be yes. All these other committees have colors. We'll have a Cavalier King Charles.
I'll bring my dog too, and then they can just cause havoc in the chambers. So. Yeah.
Ann Corman used to bring her cat every once in a while, so maybe I can get away with my dog. But we are getting away from the agenda, so I apologize. I want to continue to move along to the county administrator's report. We've got a report discussion for 2026 department goals. And Bridget, any other items you'd like to add to the report? I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you. Good morning. So yes, the only thing we have under county administration today are the 2026 departmental goals. I realize that the information that was included in your packet, it still says 2025. I apologize, it should say 2026. But we do have the updated goals here from the departments that report to this committee, and we have the leaders of those departments here with us in chambers. I'm not sure if you'd like to hear from each of them, a concise summary, or if you'd just like to take a moment to ask questions. It's up to you.
Let's a concise summary, I think, would be helpful by members of the team. If there's any major highlights, we can read through each item, but if there's any major highlights or things that they're specifically wanting to highlight, and then also if there's questions by members of the committee.
Sure. So why don't we start with Chris from Workforce Development? Do you want to come up and give a summary of your goals?
Where should I go?
Anywhere you'd like.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, so Greg, now I know why you didn't come to the meeting in person, because of your dog, but it's okay. So here are some of our goals. Our department's pretty diverse in what we actually do. But as you know, in October of 2023, we had restructured into a new department. So we've been still going through that process of restructuring, figuring out what positions we need, So we have cut a few, and then we did have some people at 35 hours, and now they're up at 40. So we've been strategic in our spending and what we want to do, and we're also exploring AI and are there certain tasks that can be done through that role instead of having a person full-time that you have to pay for benefits and things like that. I'm obviously pro-employee and having people work and have jobs, but we're also trying to see like where are other areas that we can adopt as the times change. So we've been working on that. And then we are looking to find some software out there. We're looking at a couple of vendors. We've been talking with Bridget and our executive committee about that. And basically that will better streamline our processes, because in the past, before the restructure, we hadn't had a sign-in process, an efficient intake process with all sorts of different forms, interest surveys, career center events, different things like that, like how do you wrangle in all that information. So right now it's being done through spreadsheets and Excel, and then people double checking things, but we have found the software out there that is tailored to workforce areas, similar organizations like us, and that can just save us months of time, of staff time, and it will be efficient. And it can even, you can even develop a survey that changes as it goes. So depending on what you qualify for, it will ask you more questions or less questions. So that can also just help us with our compliance. Not that we need help with that, but you know, it's always good to be for sure. We definitely want to expand, you know, beyond Ithaca and our just this space, you know, because Tompkins County is the whole entire county. It's not just Ithaca, and that's where a majority of our residents are. There's major hubs, growing towns that need us to be engaged in there. So that's what we've been actively working on, creating more work sites in those areas, just having our information being shared from flyers, just making ourselves known. Obviously, we can't drive all over the county, but we're doing the best that we can. And we also are sharing digital tools with people too, just so they are aware of what is out there. We are continuing to maintain our federal compliance with our fiscal and programmatic oversight. So our Deputy Director, Diane Ackles, has been working very hard in the fiscal aspect of what we're doing. So once again, we are a low risk workforce board area, which is the highest distinction that you can get for a workforce board in the country. So Department of Labor, federal oversight right now. So we feel very comfortable with the evolving, you know, every administration is different, Republican, Democrat. There's different expectations, but we're in a good position where we're ready for anything that's gonna come our way. And then for programmatic oversight, that's another piece that we're tasked with too, and we are continuing to be low risk in that area too. And then our final piece is we want to modernize our identity and our communication. So we are looking to rebrand and create a new logo. So we are working on reaching out to the community and getting feedback from them. And we'll be working with Monica on figuring out that process, and we're talking with our board. I'll be sure to send a survey out to y'all too. We just think that's the next step in our evolution as a new department. And with us possibly moving to a new space in the future, I think that's just part of what our rebranding should look like to roll that out. So, you know, Whole Health does a really good job at their branding and who they are and having a clear logo that makes sense. So that's something that we want to do too. So when Frank Krupa was here before, he was like my assigned person, like mentee, mentor, whatever it's called. So I was talking about that whole process with him too. So he's been helpful just too in general talking about those things. So those are our accomplishments for 2025 and what we want to continue to work for in 2026. I mean, so any questions related to that? Okay, thank you.
All right, well, Chris, thanks for that update. And just to note everybody on the agenda, there's also the department equity indicators for us to take a look at and make sure that we keep those top of mind in our conversation. And Bridget, I think the next one we have, I saw Megan maybe from the Department of Planning and Sustainability.
Yes, both Katie and Megan are here in chambers.
We got two for one. How exciting.
Yep, just
Katie and Megan,
one second, Greg. Chris had one more thing to add regarding the equity indicators.
Sorry, I missed the department equity indicators part. So yeah, that touches upon what we've been doing. We want to expand our outreach. across all communities. Like I said, rural neighborhoods, urban neighborhoods everywhere, underserved populations, so that's what we were striving for. And we do that a lot through the youth employment program also. That's been a hot topic of discussion. That's funded through the GIVE initiative too. So we're able to work with runaway youth, homeless youth, foster care youth, people from all sorts of backgrounds. And then on the Workforce Development Board itself, the board that oversees our federal funding and that oversees me along with the legislator here, we just want to be sure that when we're taking new members in, they reflect the diverse population of our area. So this is something that we always strive for. Diversity can look many different ways. It can be color of your skin, where you live, veteran status, just all sorts of different things. So we're always trying to be sure we have all voices at the table. And now I am done. So thank you, Bridget. And you guys can go now. Thanks.
Next up.
Thanks, Chris. Katie and Megan?
That's what he meant.
Okay, thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Katie Borgella, Commissioner of Planning and Sustainability. I'm joined here with Megan McDonald, the Deputy Commissioner. Our main goals for 2026, we pulled out some components from our department that report to HED around housing and economic development. The big one on housing is updating our housing needs assessment and our housing strategy. So that will kick off with contracting the not that fun part of these projects, but we were lucky enough to receive funding both from the IDA as well as the Community Development Block Grant. So we've got 2 contracts to negotiate. That's where we are at right now. Once that gets going, we'll be able to dive into a needs assessment, a better understanding of the condition of our current housing stock and what we need for the future. And then we'll be able to transition into the housing strategy update where we'll set targets and we'll have a lot of community outreach to discuss the kinds of housing that people want to see developed in the county. So that's an exciting project that we're starting this year. We'll continue, as you will hear throughout the year, implementing the Community Housing Development Fund. That's our kind of flagship housing fund that we've been running since 2009 in partnership with Cornell and the city of Ithaca primarily, but also town of Ithaca and town of Dryden. Another big one we'll be working on is updating the strategic tourism plan. That guides the use of the room tax dollars in the community to further tourism and get more people here to visit and enjoy our community and hopefully spend some money in our community so that we can all enjoy this place. And then lastly, to highlight for you is just Nick Helmholt, our tourism director, has been doing a great job over the years to really look closely at the different grants that the tourism program runs, again, funded with room tax money. And he kind of has been methodically chipping away at the different grant programs to make sure they're really aligned with where we should be with the programs and clear eligibility and that it all makes sense. So he'll be next focusing on the Arts and Cultural Organization Development Grants in 2026. And our equity indicator, we just reported on that in the housing snapshot. So we'll continue to monitor renter and home ownership, housing cost burden, looking at the different demographics, however we best can pull that out. The data's not great on that, but we do our best to make it meaningful for everybody.
Any questions or comments for Katie or Megan?
You can't see me, Greg. I have my hand raised.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Iris.
Yeah, this is great. I'm excited about all the work that your department does. I know you have your hands in like almost every committee, so it's impressive. And thank you for some of you who were here late last night. I was curious around the housing strategy conditions and needs assessment. Is that kind of an update to like the 2024 presentation that we received that sort of showed like here's where our goals were and here's where we met them?
That's the housing strategy more, but Megan led the last version of this,
okay,
so
great.
I'll let her speak to that.
Sure, yeah. So that snapshot was really reporting our progress on the current strategy. So this housing needs assessment will be helping us get a grasp on where we are now and projections going forward, since that original strategy was based off of work that was looking out through kind of 2025, 2026. So to look further out and then refresh that housing strategy, have a new housing strategy based off of more recent data and what we're expecting going forward, and the targets then set in that housing strategy in future snapshots would be reporting back on the progress with those targets.
Great, thanks. And then I also had a question around the strategic tourism plan. Just thinking, last night I was thinking about, the tax levy and how are we going to grow things, and it's like, well, we can increase property taxes, but also we can collect more sales taxes. So I'm curious what some of the thoughts are for how to increase tourism in the area to help boost revenues in that way.
Well, that'll be what comes out of the strategic.
But is that, yeah, so I think it's great that we're looking at
Yeah.
that.
I mean, the last iteration identified agritourism, for example, as a sector that could be grown in the community. So it'll do the same kind of looking broadly at what the market drivers are and where we can get some additional tourism to the community.
Fantastic, thanks.
Yeah.
And Iris, I would go out on a limb here and say that as the STPB Budget Committee meets and looks at, they sort of break their meetings down into revenue projections and then, costs and expenses, to sit in on the revenue projection conversation. It's interesting to hear our lodging partners talk about, is it rate growth? Is it occupancy growth? Is it a mix of both? Weekend business with leisure travel versus group business during weekday or university-related business. It's really fascinating to kind of hear the mix and the shift in the market. And as Peggy Coleman and the CVB has reported, the Canadian travel being down has been a big impact to our region, but what's backfilling that and kind of the strategy to attract and promote in other areas. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'd be happy to share offline that if you'd be interested in joining one of those meetings. I don't think there'd be any objection to an observer by members of the committee.
I would love that. Thank you.
Of course. Katie, the only other question I had on here is, I know we have our countywide economic development strategy that is in a holding pattern as the IAED director gets situated in their new role. But is that something too that your department's sort of keeping a hand on or tracking? I know that that's not a department work product specifically, but there's many pieces that we may be tasked with, or recommended to implement in that process.
Yes, actually, Kurt Foreman from IAED and I had a meeting just yesterday on laying out a process for finalizing that plan and getting all the economic development partners on board to kind of be rowing in the same direction to implement the plan and make sure that it's a success.
Great. So it sounds like over the next 12 to 18 months, we'll have an countywide economic strategy, housing needs assessment and strategy, and a potential strategic tourism plan.
At least underway.
At least underway. So a lot going on, a lot of big planning. And looking forward to our engagement in that, but also the final work product, as your team does a great job always in that area. So thank you.
Great, thanks.
Sorry, I do have one more question around the equity piece. Sorry, Greg, I know you're in a rush.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Around the equity indicators, so I see that you're looking at the housing cost burden, and I'm curious because I think we've talked about this when Terry gave the presentation around NYSEG too, about if we're going to be able to study or measure energy burden as part of that, energy burden being considered 6% or more of your income being spent on energy costs? Would that be something that could be included in that?
I think that's, it's a little bit complicated in terms of the actual equity indicator, since that's drawing off census data, and though that is not captured in the census data, they're a little bit kind of different data sets, so to speak. But I do think, like, you know, there's both the data that we have to work with, but then the ultimate goals that we're working towards. And so I think as we're looking at, you know, the affordability of our housing stock, that's clearly, you know, part of it. And that's part of why even the comprehensive plan talks about housing being is safe, appealing, but also energy efficient and affordable. So, so I think that we can bring those things together even if the kind of official data sets aren't built that way.
Yeah, I think it would be great if there's any way to include data on that. I think it would be helpful for us to have that, certainly, you know, as we look at upcoming rate cases and just generally to communicate around the impact of these increases, because I know everybody is feeling it.
Yeah, I can't think in my mind right now of an easy data set that we could tap into for something like that, but we can think about it. The other one that people mention a lot is the cost of transportation associated with housing. So those are two that, you know, unfortunately, the data's not there on a lot of things. And in fact, this equity indicator, the data isn't 100% there either. We did the best we could, but it's hard getting consistent data on some of this. But great point, and we will continue to try to identify ways of tracking that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Bridget, I turn it back over to you to wrap us up with the county administration goal here as well.
Sure. So under county administration for this committee specifically, we do have the living wage and minimum wage local law issue listed here. Greg, you and Iris did a nice job of summarizing where we're at with that specific study. Just to add to what you've already outlined, the timeline for that is the convenings will commence in the near term through the spring and wrap up prior to June, mid-June. And we expect to have a final report presented to the legislature in the fall. So I just wanted to provide the timeline for that. But if there's any questions, I think you both did a nice job explaining what we're looking for out of that study, and we look forward to seeing what we can get.
Great. Appreciate it. It looks like there's a lot of good goals and across a number of the committees. So appreciate county administration for compiling those and for the department heads and department staff putting those together and bringing those into fruition. Hopefully we can have sort of a mid-year check-in to see how we're progressing. And I know a number of these will be regular topics of discussion for our committee. Moving on, number 8, no update there. Next, we've got under arts, culture, and tourism, we've got a resolution, a budget adjustment for tourism program, ID number 13845. If I could have a mover. Moved by Iris and a seconded by John. And Megan, I'm assuming you are here to talk to that?
Correct. Yes, I'm filling in for Nick today. So yes, this is a budget adjustment, and since under the county's fiscal policy, it's over $15,000, it comes to the committee and legislature as a resolution. So this is pulling forward hotel room occupancy tax funds that were not expended in 2025 into 2026 with the various grants and activities that Nick has noted in the memo. So I'm happy to field any questions I can, and if you've got anything deeper, to do a little deeper dive for you offline as well.
One thing, Nick is an expert memo writer, so there's usually all of the detail needed, but I guess members of the committee, this is pretty standard procedural moving things forward in you know, if it doesn't get fully issued or expended in 1 year to the next. So a little bit of a housekeeping resolution, but still open for questions and comments. Okay, well, seeing none, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. Sorry, Adam?
Actually, I do have one question. It's not about the contents of this resolution. I'm just a little curious about formatting. So next to each item, there's a number. So for example, next to increase expenditure for development grants, it's 6475.dat.5444. I'm just wondering what that number is.
Right. So, actually, so 6475 is speaking to the room occupancy tax, and then what comes after the dot is speaking to the different categories of funding. And so, within a department, or in this case, the room tax budget, the tourism budget, not all the money's kind of floating in one big pot. It's actually designated for things like professional services, or say like travel and training, or different things there. So each of these numbers is actually coordinating with, like, the 0.5444 would be specifically for those specific grants or the professional services. So that's how it's actually broken down in our budget.
It's basically how finance tells us we should account for these different line items so they can do the transfers correctly on their end.
And also that way, if somebody uses a slightly different term by accident, the number makes sure that you know, department to department, it's that those are the same things. So if somebody said professional assistance instead of professional services, you'd still know based off that number in finance, especially.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Good question. Adam, sometimes I think we take some of that information for granted, so thanks for bringing that to the forefront. Seeing no other comments, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor, Iris?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So that passes unanimously. Megan, thank you for bringing that forward. I do see that Peggy Coleman, President and CEO of the Tompkins Chamber, has joined as a panelist. I just didn't know if Peggy was here to just join the meeting or had anything to add under arts, culture, and tourism at this time. Okay, well, thanks for being here, Peggy. Good to see you. Just wanted to make sure you had a chance to join in the fun if needed. Awesome. All right, next we have workforce development, a report discussion from Director Chris Spahn. And Chris, I apologize. I will need to leave in the middle of your presentation. And so Iris, you can take it home from here. So I will hand over the reins to you from here. Appreciate everybody's understanding and accommodating my needs today. And Chris, I'll turn it over to you then.
All right, thank you. That's fine that you have to go. I hope everything works out with everything going on with you. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, so agenda for today, we will talk about Micron, the huge project going up in Syracuse, north of us. Then we'll talk about the Youth Employment Program. And after that, we will talk about Tompkins Forward, which is the college grad retention initiative I had touched upon last meeting. So I just gave it a name. If you guys don't like the name, then we could obviously change it. It's a working title. Okay. Is that a yes or no?
I like the name.
Oh, okay, perfect. So Adam, yes.
We were, we had a county Ithaca College working group meeting yesterday, and I can't remember her name. Bridget, do you remember?
Paula?
Paula, yeah. She was saying she has this idea for an initiative called Brain Gain.
Oh, Brain Gain, okay.
For retaining college graduates.
Okay, that's good, yeah.
So just, I don't want to take her words, but you know.
Oh, yeah. No.
Brain Gain was another idea.
She's the one I've been talking to about it.
Okay.
She used to be a deputy county administrator with the county, if you did not know. She probably mentioned that. But yeah, so what Micron means for our area. So Micron is a huge project going up north in Syracuse. It has to do with the semiconductor microchips. So those are basically semiconductor. Those are basically all the things that help the modern world runs. So there's chips in your phone, chips in your car. The military uses chips. As you remember, during COVID, there were some issues with supply chain, getting chips coming in here because we were relying on China a lot and other outside countries. So after that, the federal government was saying that we need to invest more in the country in making the chips here because it's a national security issue also. We have a lot of sensitive information nowadays stored on computers, all sorts of stuff. So we want to be sure like it's being made here and we're protected and safe. So it's really a mix of chips are the future. It's a national security concern. And then that this is a special area because New York State is investing heavily in this project. So last week was the Tompkins Chamber and IAED Economic Summit. Mike Sigler was there also. So the keynote speaker was from Go Semi, which is Go Semiconductor microchips, like I said. And they had talk about the Micron project and everything going on. And a few people were wondering, like, what's going on? What are we doing with this project? How are we getting involved? So I just wanted to make the committee aware that we are involved with this project. Some might be like, why is our workforce director putting his time up in Syracuse being part of that project? Like, shouldn't he be focusing on Tompkins County? I get what you're saying, but it's twofold or whatever fold you want to call it. We need to create a skilled workforce here for ourselves and then also for people if they want to get higher paying jobs up in Syracuse. They can do that, and then obviously they come back here and live in our community. Along with that, this is a regional project. They understand that if it's just Syracuse alone, there's no way they can fill in all these jobs, create the infrastructure. When you look at it, there's supply chain things in this whole process, like factories, roads that need to be built. It's not just one factory. So we're talking thousands and thousands of jobs. Probably around 40,000 construction jobs for the project itself, and then at least 9,000 direct jobs with Micron. So as you can see, that's the logo for this Micron Future Ready Workforce Consortium that we're part of. As you can see, there's New York State and then Central New York were included in that. So we were a founding member of this in 2022. Basically, when it started, it was economic development, organizations, workforce boards, some BOCES, and then there's probably another couple of partners from the Syracuse area that I'm not familiar with. But it made sense because, you know, that the home was Syracuse. So we had a few meetings. It was really exciting. Micron was basically just taking all of our feedback, getting familiar with the lay of the land. We were basically the consultants to Micron to help them understand this project, where our talents are at, where they're not, who our education providers are, and all that good stuff. So after a while, we're like, wow, we need to expand this group out to different committees and invite more members. So there, a construction trades group was developed because it's like you need a labor force to actually do this project. So there's a construction trades group that we're part of. From that group, we discussed Syracuse Build, which is what Tompkins Build was modeled after, the 11-week pre-apprenticeship program that we have in this area. That program is meant to attract people from all different backgrounds and get them into the construction trades pathway for a career. So in that meeting itself, we discussed expanding build programs to other areas. So I've talked with Broome Tioga Workforce Board about developing a program with Danny Zabo, who was from IAED. And then there's some areas like Mohawk Valley, they're also developing build programs. So that would be an example of the Micron project, of that group, like the brainstorming going on. And then there's also a education piece. So there's like Cornell Nanoscale facility, all different sorts. There's a whole education wing that's like separate from me that they're doing whatever they're doing. It's important with the research and figuring out what is needed with industry. So that's what's going on with Micron. So I just wanted the group to know that's what's going on. So if you have any questions about Micron, please shoot me an email and ask. I can certainly meet with you to talk more about it. And if there's any concerns, then I can express those to the group from there. So were there any questions on Micron? I can just pause at that point. Yes.
Did they talk at all about any commitment to hiring locally, or if there's any sort of target percentage of the workforce that would be local?
I remember like last year they had a slide with different theoretical hypothetical numbers. I can't remember all those. I definitely know that there's a priority that, you know, we need to have people from this region. Like, we don't want to like fly in a bunch of people to move to this area because if you think about it, that's another piece where we looked at how do you qualify for these jobs and what do you need to do and what programs do we need to create? So the BOCES, TC3, all those, that partner network, they're working on developing those programs. So you see Cornell Nanoscale out a lot, educating the kids. They're all over the place. So that's part of the whole plan because worst case, we don't have anyone qualified and then we're flying at a bunch of people to come here and we're just displacing our own workers, and that's not the most efficient way, and then we don't want to do that. We want the human talent we have here to do that. But I can certainly like look back and see if there's any updated numbers in that regard with that piece.
That'd be great. Is that specifically for the manufacturing, the 9,000 manufacturing jobs, or also for the construction?
The 9,000 would be just part of the Micron facility, yeah. And then the construction, they're estimating around like 40,000, and that hiring goes in waves.
Right. But I imagine that's more likely to be transient workforce, you know, folks coming in from cities around the area.
So, yeah, it could be. So for Tompkins Build, that's why we developed Tompkins Build, so we can build our labor shed of talent and people who are available. So that's part of the building those build programs of making sure we have talent here, because a lot of times unions have to call in people from outside of state to do projects, and they get paid a ton of money to do that. So there's a bunch of young people who are single and don't have anything to do. So they just make a ton of money flying all over the country and stuff like that. So yeah, that's part of the project.
That's great. Are we also investing in training folks for those sort of permanent jobs, or is that not part of the program?
Yeah, so what happens is, so Tompkins Build was built in partnership with all of the unions, so they all have buy-in on the program itself. Basically, since the program was built in partnership, they have a solid understanding that the graduates from the program itself are quality candidates. So what ends up happening is graduates feel out what careers they like, what union makes the most sense for them at the time, and then they apply and go through that process of getting hired. So it's not a guaranteed job or anything after, but if you do the program, it's kind of understood, like, okay, that's a Tompkins Build person, you know. They're pretty prepared, and since they did the program, they're able to navigate the process a lot smoother than like just randomly trying. So again, that's the idea. Like if we took a kid from the street a few blocks over, they want to get in construction trades, like where do they start? Like what do they do? Like who's going to help them get there? How are they going to know all the secrets and different things like that? So that's also kind of the purpose of the program also.
How many students do you have in the pipeline?
So there's been two cohorts last year, and there's 15 people per cohort that graduate. And then there's a new one right now, and there's 15 in it right now.
I was at the Lansing Planning Board meeting 2 weeks ago, I think, around the data center project, and the TerraWolf folks were presenting and saying that their timeline for building would coincide somewhat with Micron, and that there might be sort of a competition for labor for the construction phase. And I'm curious, it seems like there's going to be so much demand in the near future, potentially. Is there a chance that we could expand the size of the cohorts, or, you know, what are sort of the constraints, and what would be helpful to grow that?
Yeah, so Ithaca Area Economic Development wrote a grant. It's called the Work Grant, and it has to do with the Appalachian Regional Commission. So if you didn't know, we're technically part of the Appalachia region. We're at the very tip of that. So it was a 1.2 million grant that we supported IAED in, and we were a strategic partner on that grant and this project itself. So that grant has been funding the program itself, and it ends by the end of this summer. So currently, I am exploring ways on how to fund that, and IAED is they're exploring pathways to see how they can sustain the program also. Along with that, I'm just looking at our funding that we have to see if there's any creative ways to like pay for participants doing that program. it's taking some time to figure out just because it hasn't been done before. But we're hopeful that something can come of that. Fingers crossed. I'm not very hopeful, but I think you just need a little hope. So I think there could be something maybe, so we're trying to do that. So we're trying to exhaust all pathways. I mean, I don't know if the IDA can chip in some sort of money, because if that's supporting our labor shed, local Tompkins people, I don't know. Yeah, so that's a big question that we have right now.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's a pretty significant need if we want to try to help more folks get good jobs in the area, and there will be those jobs, but if we can't fill them with trained local folks, then as you said, they'll get brought in from out of the area and out of state. So yeah, I would definitely be curious about how we can support trying to expand the cohorts.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate those comments on that. I'll keep you updated. Okay. So next, the Youth Employment Program. So this is a program that is funded through the GIVE initiative, so the Involved Violence Elimination Initiative. It targets opportunity youth, helping break the cycle of violence by providing year-round employment opportunities, financial literacy training, and then just vital support services for them. So for ages 14 to 20, and this is similar to our Summer Youth Employment Program that everyone knows. We partner with Ithaca Youth Bureau on Summer Youth Employment Program also. So this is basically the model is that there's work sites all throughout the area. We partner with folks. So on the right here are those are the work sites that we currently have for the current YEP. And then on the bottom are potential work sites that we're about to have. Like, they're not official yet, so I didn't want to put them on the official list, but they are actually done with the paperwork, they're ready to go. So this program not supports businesses. We're covering the wage and fringe. They have a mentor, which is our staff, mentor and, obviously an adult that they can work with to talk through their issues, how the job experience is going, figuring out does this make sense for them, what do they need to work on. And then next, they also have that person they work with at the work site. So a lot of these partners are really good partners, so that's why we continue to work with them in that area. So there's an economic impact there. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are coming into our area for this program, and we're giving families who need it most money to support their family also. We all know how hard it is to get a job, and it's especially hard if you don't come from a background where you've had much experience or you don't know somebody who can help you get a job. So that's what's really exciting about this program, is just it's creating opportunity for our youth. I had been a teacher back in the day in Chicago and East St. Louis, some of the most dangerous areas you could teach in. And, I have, if you look at it, like 3 of my students have been murdered. Basically, more than a handful have gone to jail. And I don't think that these things happen because they wanted to. Like, no one wakes up in the morning and I want to do these things. I want to have that. It's just because they didn't have opportunity. And that's really why I actually ended up leaving teaching and then working in government, because I felt like you can make a difference through policies, through people's lives. Because I could be the best teacher possible, but if they don't have the outside resources, honestly, what does it matter? Seriously, they don't have those outside supports. So the reason I mentioned that story is that this program reminds me of my own students that I had and opportunities they did not have. Opportunities to make money, opportunities to just get experience, to know other people, get outside of your comfort zone. So I just wanted to say that this program is very, very, very important for our youth in our area. It's easy, we all sit in privilege. To a certain extent, there's always all levels of privilege, but, this program and this money is really making a difference in their lives. So I do appreciate all of the support that this committee gives. I'm assuming the new members will give the same support to this group because the investment that you guys do in our department allows us to do these different things, take in new money for the area, expand programming and everything. So I just didn't want to brush over the slide and just be like, oh yeah, it helps kids and this and that. And my story, that same story is happening all throughout Ithaca right now. We hear it, we see people we knew and they're not on the right track, or they just leave the area. I mean, that's just another thing. We just don't want people, we do not need our youth leaving our area because who's gonna like we're gonna just be gone, or we're gonna disappear. Like, you know, our area needs to grow, not go backwards. And as you know, our county budget's always tight too. So, you know, we need to keep building the tax base and everything like that and supporting our economy. So just want to give you an update on YEP. That is in the New York State budget for next year right now. It will most likely get approved, and it will continue next year as long as we are still a GIVE recipient. So I'm not the lawyer at the state or the county or anything like that, but if the way you read it, what qualifies us for this program is that we are in an area that is a GIVE recipient. If you read the sentence in the guidance, you know, this money qualifies for people who are in recipients of the GIVE initiative funding. So if our other partners in the city and other partners don't take that money anymore, there is a high possibility that we won't continue to receive this kind of money, which would be devastating to all partners, including workforce development staff, because we also pull out admin money for this program, and that goes towards our salaries. As I mentioned earlier, Diane, our fiscal person, she's juggling multiple grants, the county funding we have, to cover all our salaries, to really figure out how can we make an appropriate budget and not have to come up to you every year for an OTR request and things like that. So I'll move on to the next piece. Okay, so the Tompkins Forward, we're gonna call it Tompkins Forward. So yeah, so about 30,000, it's over 30,000 college students are here. What if they stayed? So this month, Peggy Coleman, I don't know if she's still on here, but yeah, Peggy Coleman, Rob Montana, who's our VP, Paulie Younger, who was mentioned earlier from IC, and then myself will be brainstorming around this concept. And some initial areas of focus are listed below. I'm not gonna sit here and read all the bullets, but the previous committee meeting, I believe Adam had requested more details. So Adam, these were some of the details that we were gonna be looking into in that whole process. So I actually would like to talk to you more, Adam, about that, because you did show interest. And then I actually was at a Southern Tier 8 meeting like a couple weeks ago, or last week, and I brought up this discussion, and someone actually mentioned housing and things like that. So it would be interesting to get your perspective. I don't need an answer right now, but like, you know, how does that look like if for a younger person who actually just graduated from college? Like, is it even realistic to even live here? Or, you know, you could rent somewhere and things like that, and, you know, maybe that's part of the problem too. Well, I mean, I'm sure it is. It's a problem across all age groups in our area. But yeah, I would be interested like to get information on that, and if you had any ideas on how I could gauge that information from college students and things like that. I mean, the project itself here says it's a IC, Chambers, and Workforce Development. I would say we're the ones kind of just brainstorming right now and figuring out, but I do see just like other partners being looped in as we figure this out right now. So that was my update related to the college student part right now. So at the April meeting, I will have more updates on how that discussion actually went. Any comments related to this portion?
Not really, except that I'd love to chat about this.
Okay.
I'll send you an email.
Oh yeah,
my availability isn't great for the rest of the month, but this week I'm pretty good, so.
Okay, yeah.
Any time that works.
All right, yeah, we'll communicate that way. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, and we view this as an ongoing project for this year, so we're excited. And that was all for today. I appreciate everyone's time and listening, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
Thank you.
The last agenda item I see is committee members' reports. I feel like we did already ask for anything people wanted to share, but is there anything else from current committee members? All right, well then I think, can I have a motion to adjourn? Adam Vinson, seconded by Mike Sigler. I guess we don't have to do a roll call now because we're all here. So all in favor of adjournment? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Do you have, you talked about?
Yeah, so I see.